Number 4, application portfolio assessment. Well, Eli, how do I know which application is good for the cloud? If we can't do some kind of modification to the application, then we're not moving it. If we're gonna lift and shift, then we're not moving it. Look, you're gonna move it, even if it's lift and shift. There is not a single cloud environment that doesn't have lift and shift. Anyone that says we're not gonna just do lift and shift, it's an aspiration. And by the way, why wouldn't you do a lift and shift? If the application can move and maybe it's an older application that you have to maintain for the long term, what's the problem with lift and shift? Now, if you could lift, shift, and refactor, that would be ideal. If you could potentially use a SaaS replacement, ideal if it meets all of the requirements, but it is not a must. If you can redesign the application, take advantage of all past services and take advantage of the cloud, great. But again, what's the problem with lift and shift? So if you have a good mix of lift and shift, good mix of refactoring, maybe a good mix of SaaS, some redesign, that is the blend that you want to keep your costs down. And that's the typical environment. You're not going to have a pure environment ever, at least not in the short term, not for years to come. So don't make lift and shift a hurdle of moving. What is a hurdle of moving though, cloud migration wise, is how to decide which one needs to be lift and shift, which one can be refactored, which one should be redesigned, which one should be replaced with SaaS. If you don't have a process on how to subject your application portfolio to the right questions, to the right process on how am I going to move this application, then you're missing out. And again, I'm going to keep saying this, check out the course, because I give you the whole process of how do you start from start to finish on an application by application basis to determine if this application should be a lift and shift, a refactor, a redesign, a replace, etc. A lot of folks think that just because there's a SaaS alternative, oh, we're just going to replace it with SaaS. It's not that simple. Sometimes there is a SaaS alternative, but you still don't do SaaS for a variety of reasons. Maybe it's lock-in. Maybe it's the only provider that's offering this. And if you go to SaaS, then you're locked in just by the sheer fact that that is the only provider that offers this. Maybe the disruption to your users it's great, right? Because the user interface is different. The experience is different. You're gonna have to invest in a lot of training. Maybe the feature set, there's no feature set parity between the SaaS application and your on-prem application. There's a lot of things to where SaaS is not always the default option just because there is a SaaS application. So what you want to do, subject the entire portfolio to a process to determine which application can move to the cloud, and if it can move to the cloud, how is it going to move to the cloud? Lift and shift, refactor, redesign, replace, etc. That is how you're going to determine which applications move to the cloud.